Hi there, my name is Simone Nelson. I am the Managing Director of the California State University Entertainment Alliance. And what we are is an initiative out of the California State University Chancellor's Office. We represent all 23 campuses of the nation's largest, most diverse university system, and we connect the entertainment, arts, and media industry to all of the campus's students, faculty, and alumni in a variety of programs. And I'm here today moderating a conversation with some very, very interesting industry leaders from across the spectrum, and they're going to introduce themselves a little bit, what they do, and why they're interested in this conversation about the importance of mentorship, especially in underrepresented communities, especially right now in this important time in history. And we're going to start with Lou Libin.
Thank you so much, Simone. Good day, everyone. My name is Louis Libin, and I am Vice President of Spectrum Technology at Sinclair Broadcast Group, and I head up a communications company. So when worlds collide, before the rest are introduced, I'm going to just give a few remarks that really might seed the conversation a little. So our world has been headed towards disruption for a while. It's just other things balanced out. But now we're at that point, socially, technologically, and medically through the pandemic. Social technology, what does all that mean? So for the good, I have to say, I'm a technologist. Technology has, even during the pandemic, has saved perhaps hundreds of thousands of lives, physically, mental health, medical, entertainment, and communications. Everybody's doing something and watching and listening and anything else. But we are approaching the convergence of many technologies right now. Powerful phones and apps and entertainment, all mobile. This is what I do, and it's all happening now. Now we need to begin to train the underserved, the new personnel, to develop the programming, the apps, the programming, the processes, and the procedures that we do need badly. So let's cut to the chase. What is the impact of technology on race relations? Well, technology is making the situation worse, unfortunately, when it comes to race and social justice in America. An example, facial recognition. Nobody wants to talk about it, but here it is. It sometimes gives false positives for people of color by a factor of like 10 times to 100 times more. And this is according to research from the US government. People of color have long proposed an alternative narrative on the societal impact of technology. I'm going to quote from Martin Luther King. He warned us. He said, when scientific power outruns moral power, we end up with guided missiles and misguided men. I think we're there right now. So the fact that much of our technology is being developed and conceived of by a small sliver of humanity, and this sliver of humanity has projected onto everyone else its own vision of the good life, that's not great. So the tech industry's current panacea is to diversify its workforce, and companies are setting aggressive goals to transform themselves. So unfortunately, this will not be enough to drive meaningful change. You can only have a diverse workforce as you want, and you're still going to get many of the same problems we see today. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that at the heart of discriminatory design is this idea that we can create technological fixes for social crisis. Rather than dealing with the underlying conditions, we create short-term responses that get the issue out of our sight, perhaps, out of our mind. We need the technology industry and the broader society to think bigger and more critically about the role of technology, how it's playing in our lives and in the modern communities that we need to continue building. So we all know that technology is changing the world from, we all know artificial intelligence, the big data, the ubiquity of smartphones, they're getting smarter. And many of us are working to change society, just beginning to understand how to harness these tech forces for good. Remember, when you buy the latest iPhone, just this week we saw the introduction, there's no instruction manual. That's the challenge we face. Kids are getting phones, there's no instruction manual. So what do we need to do? My bottom line, we need to teach and engage. An example, Kevin Clark of Dakar is a visionary here. He's going beyond informing to experiment with deeper means of improving practice and behavior. That's a very big deal. We need to make matches for the right people. Tech solutions also enhance impact by making quicker and better matches in a particular market. And I can give an example. I'm in New York. It's called New York Cares. I volunteer and I do a lot of things, and they try to make the right matches. Well, Kevin Clark here, too, is a revolutionary thinker as well when making matches. So then there are other things like crowdsourcing hotspots. In many cases, individuals and communities, they see just a part of the solution that piece together create a pattern that can cause social action. And what else? Obviously, we need to reach the underserved. In some cases, technology improves the reach of products and services that can improve lives. And last, we need to raise cash for good. Technology is now playing a hand in both creating capital markets for social good and in connecting the beneficiaries with funding streams. So in summary, technology has the potential to enable solutions to some of the most pressing issues the world is now facing, including the social unrest that we are trying to solve. And I thank everybody for their help. Simone.
Wow, that was wonderful. Amazing. So, Jeffrey, you're on deck. Tell us more about yourself and why you're here today. And let's talk about mentorship as well.
Hi, everybody. And Lou, thanks for that warm introduction, and Simone as well. Let me say this. I'm Jeffrey Thompson. I'm Vice President of PK Global, a digital transformation company that's focused on transitioning media and entertainment companies to the digital stack. That said, I'm also a USC professor in Annenberg and teach both in Annenberg and in Marshall's Graduate School of Business. Why the intersection between media and technology? I've been, when I was vice president at the Walt Disney Company, one of those roles that I had, which was a business development technology role, was all about what's next in the media space. If you look at any media and technology company, it's all about what's next. So when you look at a media company, whether it's Netflix or Amazon or Disney or Fox or Sony Pictures, every single one of these companies is a technology company, transitioning, disrupting, and changing as consumer behavior changes. Why am I here today? Because as new technologies come on board, people of color, in many cases, who are behind the curve on current technology and integration, get even further behind. From an academic point of view, from a training preparation point of view, to being able to lead these companies that are new and of the future. So it's all about what's next. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Love to hear more about what you did at Disney in the future. So we have Lemaire Walker. Please tell us what you're doing here and your work with Valence Media.
Thank you, Simone. It's really great to join you all here. My name is Lemaire Walker. I am Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of Valence Enterprises, a platform built to connect talent, opportunity, and also to mentor. We are currently involved in a big program called the Boost platform, which is part of our overall ecosystem, where we have a micro mentoring technology element. And we've been doing some experiments, let's say, this summer with our partner Silicon Valley Bank to have events where people can connect on the platform afterwards with talent at the highest levels. This is a global platform as well. We've got deep roots here in LA, but we're also across the United States. And a lot of what we've been focused on is actually based on career paths that are kind of mirroring the co-founders. So Kobe Fuller, who's at Upfront Ventures, the brainchild of this platform, he was really keen on finding ways to give access to capital through the venture capital space, of which we've got about 50 of the world's largest venture capital funds in a funding network. We also have an executive training program, which is going to have people kind of giving content and mentorship around the pathways to the highest levels of organizations. And then we've got really great content that exposes people to both the process of making as well as the process of operating businesses around these platforms. So it's a really exciting time. And I think, from my pathway, the way that Kevin and I connected was on the front of how I, as a USC student, was able to find my way into the media industry through design. I was able to work with production designers and producers on content from commercials to television to film. And it's just always been really powerful to see how technology enables commerce and culture to come to life. So it's a really exciting time to be able to talk about how we can mentor the next generation.
It's a perfect segue. Thank you. And Arnold Gordon Bray.
I am
on background.
Thank you very much. I'm Arnold Gordon Bray. I spent 35 years in the United States Army, and I'm now a consultant looking at things like strategy, leadership, and diversity. I met Kevin about 12 years ago when I was in uniform, and as a result, I saw some need to try to get more people that are from what I call the U3D, underserved, underrepresented, undervalued, and disenfranchised communities, to being able to understand that they are part of a global competition, not the person next door, not the kid next door, the county next door, or the state, but in fact, globally competitive. And the internet has allowed us to understand that one, we are a collective of people, and specifically the demands to be able to understand other people and, oh, by the way, be connected is important. So what Kevin and Dakar has allowed us to do is try to get some of those people, I shouldn't say those people, but those communities who are in need to, one, see themselves in front of, behind, and in the inner workings of the community, of the systems that tell those stories. Additionally, one of the things that's powerful is that by focusing on STEM and STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math education, it allows us to then help kids learn how to think, not what to think, but also prepares them for those kinds of jobs that we don't even know exist yet. And I would just, as a quick sample, go back just 15 years and the smartphone doesn't exist. Now it is the staple of communications. It is no longer an option. It is a utility as powerful as water and electricity. So kids are learning that, and they're also getting a chance to see how to think differently from what is just residing in their community. And for those reasons, I'm involved in trying to help these organizations, National Society of Black Engineers, the 360 Creative to Careers, and other organizations that are similar in purpose.
You all have a lot of the same things in common, no matter how different you all are, and you're all here for the same reason. I think we all are. I think we all were inspired by the passion that Kevin Clark has, agree with him, want to work with him, and come together to figure out now at this really important moment with a really important election coming up, how can we best, and this is a question for all of you, work together? I find it's very challenging. It's beyond challenging. I work in just the most enormous state system bureaucracy you can imagine. And every campus, every department, every entity is siloed from each other. Nobody communicates effectively. Lots of people are doing similar things, but not doing them collaboratively or together to do more better. So I'm wondering, I ponder, how can we all wanting to do similar things for the same reasons best work together? For example, how can Lemaire's platform work with the work that Lou has been focused on, and Jeffrey, and your courses that you still teach, and the courses and the things that we develop at the Cal State system? How can we all come together? Any thoughts?
Okay. This is Lewis. My short answer is, how do we come together? Well, everything is converging right now. We're in this brand new innovative world, but we can't ignore the politics because it's the politics that are going to kill us all. So we need to make sure that we somehow maintain control over what we're doing. Innovation is happening all around us and it's great, but we can't ignore the politics. We have to make sure that the policies that are done are all fair to everyone. I think that's really one of the shortcuts that we have to always ask the question. Every time new technology comes up, new policies come up, is it fair to everyone? Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think, Arnold, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to offer to you two things. First of all, I would argue that in the politics of what we're doing, the internet ought to really and truly ought to be available to everybody, period. If you want to buy additional access, if they want to do that, those kinds of things, that should be the option, but because kids have to use it in school. If nothing else, this pandemic has taught us some things that we must be better at. And so that is one of the political pieces. So kind of the first two steps are first, we need to really start emphasizing that every child, every human being, every person should have access to the internet as really between part of the electrical bill, that they get that. That's just part of the system. Secondly, one of the things that Kevin has done with the LAUSD is that inside of that piece and talking to also all the community colleges, which I think is the best deal for education in the country, that they ought to probably be tied, and there ought to be a series of focus groups that we ask the kids, we ask the kids to tell us what they think they're missing, and then have folks who are on the leading edges, folks like Mr. Walker, who he's been a dreamer with Disney, which we're all fascinated by that. He's been part of that dreaming of what's next, what's out there, that sits and facilitates where he sees kids and people like him, where he sees kids are not dreaming big enough. They're not taking themselves out of what they know to start to just say, make it perfect, flat piece of paper. Now, what do you want? And then they can start going beyond the boundaries of the physical limitations of their minds. But they can then start to address what they want, what they need. And then from that, based upon what they think they desire, what we know is out there, we then start to access with people who are part of a coalition of the willing to provide some of those tools, technologies, abilities to address what they have. And I mentioned there's be pillars of discussion, because we've got to make sure that whatever we do, it goes through the pillars of making sure that they're physically capable. They've got constant and consistent leadership that talks to them about character and how that goes all the way out to the end. It's got to be on the core. It's got to be an educational curriculum that prepares them for what's next. And then, oh, by the way, because ultimately it's about a career path, not necessarily a career path that goes through college or goes through the 4-year college, but takes them to the advanced stages of understanding. And then, oh, by the way, the stability of understanding how to manage money so that they get that kind of literacy that becomes sustainable. So those are kind of the pillars that we've got to work for. We got to help the kids get through those, but it has to be, again, a merged effect. We can't do what I call sniper fire. Help one kid because his friend then drags him down. Help one kid in a place, not a community, so that when he comes back home, he's distressed because nobody else is joining him in the fight. It has to be collective impact. Those are the things I think that happen.
I want to thank this very esteemed panel of industry leaders. We've got Lou, Jeffrey, Lemaire, and Arnold, all brought together, and me, Simone Nelson from the California State University System, all brought together by Kevin Clark, our amazing inspirational leader. Thank you all for your thoughts. Stay tuned, everybody, because we are going to create some kind of action plan, some kind of competition. I know the people on this call want to do this. We all want to do this. We're going to figure out how to bring people together to move forward, not just lip service, right? We want to figure out how to move forward in a mentorship training program for the communities that we're discussing. In the future, I can talk to you guys separately, but I was at some meetings with Best Buy and the agency ICM, who is working in Watts to build a high technology center for young people to teach them these skills, media, arts, technology, everything we're talking about. So that could be a way in the future. Thanks, everybody. And thanks for listening.